So when it comes to the 2024 market, what do we see? Well, we see several things, several factors at the same time that are intertwined and affect one another, okay? One of the main things that we've been talking about for the last 16 months, 18 months, is the interest rates. Now, the interest rates jumped up dramatically last year in 2022, in July of 2022. They basically doubled overnight, it almost seemed. It got to the point where earlier this year, we were up close to the 8% interest rate. Now, that hit the brakes dramatically on many real estate transactions. It knocked out a good amount of buyers from the buyer pool due to the affordability crisis. Now, affordability was tough even before then. If you guys remember during the COVID years, the unicorn years, 2021 and parts of 22, when interest rates were artificially reduced down to the 2 to 3% range, you had a massive influx of buyers that came into the market that were able to afford properties based on those interest rates. That impacted their monthly payments. And what happens with lower monthly payments is that the more buyers come in, more buyers, more demand. What does demand do? Demand is what impacts home prices. Now, inventory has been tight throughout, right? And even with the new inventory that came on the market during those years, you still had multiple offer situations, 30 to 40 to 60 offers in some properties that we know about, $100,000 plus over asking in different areas. Of course, that depended whether you were in Queens, Long Island, Brooklyn, where you were located, and the type of property, right? Now, you fast forward to when the interest rates went up, that knocked out a very large percentage of these buyers that were in the market for a home back then, right? Some transactions fell through because they were qualified in, let's say, a 3 or 4% interest rate, and all of a sudden now there's a 6% interest rate, 7% interest rate. They didn't lock in their rate because they didn't have a house at the time, or just they were hoping for a lower rate. Whatever the case may be, those deals fell apart. Sales still happened in 2023. As a matter of fact, we were looking at some of the numbers, and once we finalize the December numbers, we'll have some updated numbers for you. But just in Keller Williams Landmark 1 and 2, we had over $923 million in closed sales volume, right? And that's in 2023, when it was a down market or slower market or whatever you want to call it. At the end of the day, real estate still moves as long as things are priced correctly. Now, what happened is that the interest rates continued to escalate as the Federal Reserve continued to push an increase in rates to fight inflation. Now we're getting later in the year, and what the Fed has seen is that their efforts have worked from what they understand, and inflation has gone down. As inflation went down, they started slowing down their interest rate bumps. So what that causes is the market to say, okay, now things are getting better. There are not increases at the same level there were before, so we can calm down and interest rates stabilize now. So now you're looking, as of present day, you're looking at 6.3 or so, depending, of course, on your credit and your finances, on your individual situation, but somewhere in that range, which is a tremendous cut down from just 8 weeks ago when we were close to 8 or just above, right? And now, with different programs, there's some interest rates that we've seen in the fives, in the high fives. Now, that helps with affordability. The main thing, though, is that inventory is still tight. So I say all this to fast forward into 2024. We're going in with lower interest rates than we had for a large part of 2023. Demand is still strong, and more buyers are being qualified because of that interest rate where it is right now, right? So what I anticipate going into 2024 is you're going to see interest rates continue on a downward trend. As I was watching and reading some resources that I've been looking into just to prepare for this, basically what you're going to see is job loss reports before you see interest rate cuts. So keep an eye on that, and let's see if that's actually true and comes to fruition. But we're expecting lower interest rates, or at least a more stable interest rate market, right? What that's going to cause is an increase in home values. At what level? We'll see. But one thing that I want you guys to think about is, for buyers, the ones that are on the fence about whether or not to go for it right now or not, now is the time. You're going to be the buyers that will look back possibly in regret because you didn't jump into the market now during the winter months when there's less competition. What do I mean by less competition? People are involved with the holidays right now. People get a little lazier when it comes to the weather, the snow, the rain, just being cold. They're not as active on the market. So if you have been struggling to find a home, take advantage of this time, because down in the spring market, when some people are thinking that's when they should gun for it, you will have increased competition. There will be increased, multiple offer situations, and it may hurt you being able to get a home at the price that you can get now. Home sellers, one of the things for you is you have to consider your personal situation, right? Right now is a great time to sell. You do have fewer buyers on the market, and those are the more serious ones. So if you are really looking to sell, let's say by the spring, let's get your home on the market now, so when the spring comes, you are ready to roll into your next property. Now, one of the reasons that I say to list now is the problem that comes for home sellers when prices do come up. Some sellers want to hold off until interest rates continue their downward trend and home prices go up. The thing for you guys is to keep in mind, and this is your own individual situation, is that when home prices go up for your home, the home you're going to also increases in price. So does it make sense for you to sell now and find a home that's at a lesser price than it will be? Or does it make sense for you to wait to get more money out of your home and at the same time pay a higher premium on the home that comes along, right? So another thing that we saw was a lot of home sellers that were holding off on the sale of their home due to interest rates. When a homeowner has a 2 or 3% interest rate because they bought during those years, for a lot of them it was a difficult idea to transition from that monthly payment to a 6% or 8% interest rate monthly payment, where that's a significant increase in your monthly payment, right? So that was kind of stopping people. Now that you see that the interest rates went down a bit, you have a little bit less of an increase than you would have if you bought a few months ago or if you sold a few months ago, right? So those are numbers to consider. I would strongly suggest that you speak to a lender and look at your home value, right, in today's market. So talk to your favorite real estate agent. Then speak to a lender, find out how much you owe on your home, or if you have that handy. Talk to your favorite realtor about a equity analysis. So what that is, it takes a look at how much your home would sell for, how much you owe, the rest of the fees that are associated with a sale, taxes, realtor fees, so on and so forth, attorney fees, the whole list. If you would like a list of those, please feel free to comment below or reach out. But you take a look at that and you find out how much you're going to walk away with. That's when you're prepared. That's when you're armed with knowledge, where you know whether it makes sense for you to move to the next home, or maybe now's not the time and you still want to pay off some of that mortgage. It's a trade-off depending on what your goals are. Are you looking to downsize? Maybe you have enough equity where you could buy the next property all cash and you don't have to worry about that. That happens in some of the places, some of the situations where you're going from a single or multifamily down to a co-op or a condo. It really depends on how much your home is worth and how much you owe, right? Some people get very excited about selling their home when they haven't paid off that much of their mortgage and they're walking away with not enough equity to really purchase something or to put down enough of a down payment on the next property so that their monthly payment isn't something that is going to be affecting their livelihood, right? So that's where we're seeing the market trend. I'm giving you guys examples of what you can do, can't do, but it all depends on your individual situation, right? Now, we do, based on everything that we're reading, we are looking at a decrease in interest rates for the 30-year fixed. 15-year fixed is different as well. Home sales, we do expect it to go up over the 4 million mark, which is more of a normal turnaround in terms of more a normal market in terms of number of sales. Sales were down. There was a huge percentage of home sales down. Again, homes are still being sold. Real estate transactions were still being done, but there was less inventory, less sales, and less buyers because of everything we talked about, right? What we are looking at, there's other things. We're looking at the lawsuits, the copycat lawsuits, some of those things that impact the real estate industry. Right now, that's all up in the air. I do know that there's been a lot of people that ask about that and what it means for today's market. Right now, there's no decisions, no legal changes that we've been told of yet. So that's still up in the air, still something that needs to be determined, and it's going to be tied up in court for quite some time based on what we're hearing. It's important that you guys stay up to date on the market, or at least have a real estate agent that is on top of the market, that is looking at it on a week-by-week, month-by-month basis, and that takes your situation into consideration when it comes to buying or selling a home. It's not a one-size-fits-all. It's what makes sense for you and your family, for you and your finances. If it's your investment, do the numbers make sense? These are things that we go over, and we look forward to a prosperous 2024, to a wonderful start of the year, wonderful spring market, summer market, fall market, winter market. It's not so much what's going on in the market, it's what's going on locally. Real estate is not just global, not just macro, not just national. It is on a hyper-local level. So everything we just talked about was kind of a generic overview of New York in terms of Brooklyn, Manhattan, Queens, Long Island, the areas that we service. But it is on a neighborhood-by-neighborhood basis, and we can dive into your situation and the predictions for your specific market if you comment below and let me know what you like to know. All right. It's a pleasure. Again, thank you guys for tuning in, and we'll see you on the next one.